So today we'll talk about how the computer will talk to another computer on the internet. And if you look at the previous video about computer to computer conversation, the ARP was involved, and this ARP broadcast was involved to get the MAC address and IP address mapping. Now we'll see how this process takes place, and when this computer, let's just call it again, computer one, wants to talk to somebody on the internet. Let's just say that you type an address, a URL, in your browser, npr.org, and what happens when you press enter. When you press enter, after typing this address in your browser, this is like an English or human readable name that only humans can read. For a computer, it needs to be mapped to a IP address and a MAC address. So your computer, when it gets an IP address, it should get a default gateway. It should also get a DNS address from where it's going to do the name to IP resolution. So when you type npr.org, your computer is going to either go to a DNS on the internet if you have a DNS address of 888, or it's going to go to a DNS that's connected into your network, or it's going to go to a DNS that's connected to your service provider. In either case, you're going to have a DNS address. Let's just talk about a DNS that is connecting on the internet, which is your Google DNS right here. So when you type the address npr.org, and your DNS is equals to 8888, your computer will send this request to the Google DNS asking about who is npr.org. And this Google DNS will respond back to you with an IP address of this guy. So let's just say this guy is 1.1.1.1. The Google DNS is like a directory of names, people's name and phone numbers. And he's got a cache, he's got a big database of the names and IP addresses. So in his directory, in his record, npr.org is 1.1.1.1. He already knows that. You send a request to DNS, he sends back to you the address 1.1.1.1. Your computer now knows that your destination address is 1.1.1.1. So now your source becomes your IP address, and your destination becomes the npr.org's IP address. Now, since this IP address is not on your subnet, it's a different subnet, you would by default send this packet to your router. And you can only do that when you have the router's MAC address. If you do not have the router's MAC address, you would do an ARP again and a broadcast, which is going to go this way, asking about your default gateway's MAC address. And since this computer does not have the default gateway IP address, it's going to drop the MAC or the broadcast address or the broadcast request, ARP request, and the router is going to reply back with the MAC address. And once you get the MAC address of your default gateway, you're going to send this IP packet with your source and the destination of npr.org. And this time the packet is going to go like this, and that's how your communication is going to happen.